Leaving the apartment keys and her engagement ring on the table, Michelle packs her things and departs after a quarrel with her fiancé. She stops at a petrol station after driving across the countryside for a while and discovers an automobile that has been pursuing her for a while. Michelle doesn't want to talk and switches on the radio when her fiancé calls late at night to attempt to persuade her to come back. A news story about severe power disruptions reaches her ears. Distracted, she is involved in an accident. Michelle loses consciousness as the car repeatedly flips over and crashes onto the side of the road. She awakens in a concrete chamber after a while. And 4 is attached to her arm, while metal chains are used to bandage and confine her leg. Her possessions are stacked in the room's corner. Michelle reaches for her phone on the 4 stand, but there's no signal. Then footsteps are heard. A big man stands in front of her with a platter of food when the door opens. She pleaded with him to release her, vowing to keep it a secret. However, the stranger assures her that he would not allow her to perish. He then leaves the key to her shackles behind and leaves. After freeing herself, Michelle prepares to fight for her freedom by getting clothed and sharpening the end of a crutch. She lights a piece of clothing on fire and shoves it into the ventilation duct since the man has left. When the man arrives after the fire alarm goes off, he gives her an injection that makes her faint. Michelle finds the man seated next to her bed when she comes to. She's truly incredibly fortunate to be there, he assures her. Humans have been assaulted, therefore she has to eat and take her medicine. They are currently in a bunker under his property, but the nature of the attack is still unknown. He couldn't let her die after witnessing her crash. The man tells Michelle that the outer world is tainted, but she still insists on phoning the police. The restoration of breathing air will take a minimum of 1 year, and only if the attack was straightforward. It may spell the end for humanity if it were like Martians. The man tells Michelle that everyone who is still on the surface is dead when she asks to get in touch with her family. A loud noise comes from the other room as Michelle attempts to comprehend what she has heard. The door is left open and shouted as the man departs. Before he departs, someone comes back and angrily reminds her that she should be thankful that he saved her life. Howard is who he introduces himself as. A noise from the surface wakes Michelle the following morning, and she notices the door open. A young man who was asleep in the corridor is awakened by her exit. She explains that she doesn't accept Howard's lies when he tries to reassure her. Emmett, however, affirms that everything is, as Howard stated. Later on, Howard demonstrates to Michelle that the bunker in the middle is a common space where the air is filtered by a unique mechanism. A TV, movies on disc, and a library are all present. With its electric stove, refrigerator, and cutlery, the kitchen is remarkable. The table is an heirloom from the family. No one is allowed in Howard's private chamber. Howard worries that Michelle would try anything risky again, like almost setting a fire, so she needs to use the restroom behind a curtain. Water must also be utilized carefully. Howard asks her to join him for lunch at the table after the tour. When Michelle spots a pile of women's magazines, Howard tells her that Megan, who is no longer with them, is the owner. Michelle thinks it might be a car going by when she hears a noise outside, but Howard tells her it's not possible. Even though people believed he was insane when he began building the bunker, he is sick of having to explain that no one is left above. He leads Michelle to a stairway at the top so she may have a look for herself. A door with a little window catches Michelle's attention. At first inspection, the outside appears unaltered, however there are dead pigs with serious sores in the pen in front of the home. Howard clarifies that he was unable to save his piglets. Then, Michelle realizes that his vehicle is the same one that was after her on the night of the collision. Howard shows her the key and notes that these doors are always locked. Michelle and Emmett talk about it later. Howard had been in the Navy, Emmett reveals. He later purchased the property and employed Emmett to assist with the household duties. Howard constructed the bunker because he is a conspiracy theorist. No one kidnapped Emmett. He observed Howard investing all of his money in building his bunker, so he rushed there in the hopes of finding refuge. Emmett is reminded by Michelle that Howard brought her here and caused the accident. Therefore, all of his statements of an attack are false. Emmett, however, maintains she is mistaken. He witnessed the assault firsthand. The horizon went red, and there was a flash and an explosion. The fact that he arrived at the bunker before Howard sealed the entrance makes him happy. Unaware that Howard has been listening to their chat from the doorway, Michelle attempts to deny his assertions. Howard remarks that the two appear to have gotten along well and extends an invitation to supper. After discussing his unmet aspirations over dinner, Emmett spots a Monopoly game and suggests they play it to kill time. The conversation irritates Howard, and when Michelle makes advances toward Emmett, Howard becomes enraged. Because he saved her life, he rants at her and demands respect. Michelle successfully takes the keys from Howard's belt while he is reprimanding them. When Howard observes her odd behavior, he discovers the keys are gone. However, a sound from above diverts his attention before he can respond, and Michelle strikes him over the head with a bottle as he rushes to the bunker exit. When Emmett yells for her to stop, Michelle gets to the door and enters the airlock before Howard can stop her. An automobile is seen driving toward the property by Michelle. To grab the driver's attention, she screams. However, a woman with a serious skin infection rushes to the window and begs to be allowed into the bunker. Howard says it's too late to save the woman, therefore Michelle is not allowed to assist her. Michelle returns to the bunker after realizing that there has been an attack of some kind. Although Michelle's accident spared her life, Howard later acknowledges that he was the cause of it. Since she was close to the door, Howard lets her borrow some of Megan's clothes and sends her to take a shower. He admits that he used to live next door to the afflicted woman. Since his bunker was well known, others might also visit this place. Howard begins sharing amusing tales from his Navy days and insists that Michelle suture the wounds she inflicted. As Howard continues to tell her anecdotes and compliment her on her work, Michelle starts to suture his wound. He asks her about her life after bringing a box filled with her possessions from the car. Michelle acknowledges that she had aspirations of working as a fashion designer. In response, Howard reveals that his daughter Megan had expressed a desire to pursue a career in art. He shows Michelle a photo of a little child named Megan and complains that her mother turned against him after his divorce and took her to Chicago. At least he made an effort to keep kids safe, but Howard is frustrated that people don't care about it. Michelle is later reassured by Emmett that she was unable to save the woman outdoors. She would have perished even if they had allowed her entry. They think back on their previous incarnations. After receiving a scholarship to a polytechnic, Emmett acknowledges that he was afraid and never went. Michelle, on the other hand, describes how her father abused her, making her lifelong fear of conflict. She is reminded by Emmett that they are fortunate in spite of everything. They made it out alive. The three of them start to get along fairly well over the course of the following several days. They cook together, play games, and try in tiny ways to fit in with their new lives. A tremendous roar reverberates from above one day. If it's the military, it's not Earth's military, Howard says. The flashes they had previously seen were only the beginning. The second stage, which involves cleaning the areas, has started, most likely with the help of foreign powers. The air filtering system abruptly stops working. Since Michelle is the only person small enough to fit through the ventilation shaft, Howard ordered her to do so in order to restart the system. She crawls through the ducts after agreeing. She eventually makes it to the filtration unit and restarts it. However, she notices something unsettling while she is there, a bloodied earring resting beneath a ladder, and a message that says, "Help," inscribed into the glass. The earring is a perfect replica of the one Megan wore in the picture. She was shown by Howard. Michelle, shaken by her discovery, confides in Emmett that she believes Howard may have harmed Megan. When he looks more closely, Emmett realizes that the girl in the picture is Brittany, his sister's friend who vanished years ago, not Megan. Another picture from the book shows Howard and Brittany standing together in the bunker, understanding they are in danger, both wearing the same outfits Michelle currently wears. Emmett and Michelle make the decision to organize an escape. They begin collecting stuff in silence. Emmett crafts a homemade gas mask, and Michelle cuts a makeshift biohazard suit out of a shower curtain. They intend to steal Howard's firearm. One of them will go for assistance after you tie him up. They nearly give themselves away one evening when they are playing charades. When Howard becomes suspicious about something, several days later, Howard summons them into a room and displays a barrel of hydrochloric acid, claiming it is for disposing of rubbish. After exposing the instruments they had concealed for their escape, he accuses them of conspiring against him. As Michelle and Emmett watch in horror, Howard gets so angry that he melts the tools in the acid. In an effort to shield Michelle, Emmett accepts responsibility for the failed escape and acknowledges that he attempted to create a weapon with the tools. Howard shoots and murders Emmett icily after appearing to accept his apologies. Michelle is shocked and devastated as she watches Howard reassuring her calmly that no one will ever hurt her again. He starts tending to her, giving her ice cream, and discussing how they would build a wonderful life in the bunker together. Determined to flee, Michelle works to build her biohazard suit while mourning Emmett. But one night, Howard discovers the garment concealed among her stuff. Although Michelle eludes him, Howard catches up and chastises her for her lack of thanks. A fire starts in the bunker as Michelle, in a desperate attempt, knocks the acid barrel onto Howard. As the badly wounded Howard tries to assault her, she snatches her biohazard suit, crushes him beneath a large shelf, and heads for the door. By now, the fire is spreading and the bunker is completely engulfed in flames. Howard tries to stab Michelle through the vent grates, but she avoids him and crawls through the ventilation shaft. When she arrives at the air filtering chamber, she rapidly puts on her biohazard suit with a nitrogen can. Finally breaking out of the bunker, she freezes and bursts the latch on the outer entrance. Michelle is crying as she makes her way outside to a car. In a panic, she uses duct tape she finds in the car to seal the rip. She's about to unwind when she realizes the air isn't poisonous and sees a group of birds soaring freely overhead. Before Michelle can rejoice after taking off her gas mask, she notices an extraterrestrial spaceship that appears to be a living thing hovering in the distance. Michelle looks on with fear. The alien ship notices her as the bunker explodes behind her. Despite her desperate efforts, she is unable to locate the automobile keys. She dashes to the woman's vehicle who attempted to enter the bunker earlier. However, the alien is alerted when the car alarm goes off. Michelle hides in a neighboring shed out of fear, when she discovers the diseased woman's corpse looking through the body. As the alien creature starts exploring the shed and attempting to break through the animal door by exploiting the alien's attention, Michelle finds the automobile keys. Michelle runs to Howard's house, but just as she gets there, a toxic gas is released by the alien ship flying overhead. Michelle survives the chemical attack after putting on her gas mask in a flash. The alien starts exploring the car and testing its defenses while she hides inside. When it is evident that breaking into the car is too challenging, the car is raised into the air by the extraterrestrial ship. Michelle discovers a lighter and a bottle of flammable liquid inside the vehicle. The alien in the car is destroyed by the explosion that occurs when she rapidly prepares a Molotov cocktail and tosses it into the alien ship's mouth. After surviving the fall, Michelle exits the shattered car and takes off in the woman's vehicle. While operating a motor vehicle, she turns on the radio and listens to news broadcasts about how humans defeated the extraterrestrial invaders. Survivors are being told to escape, and people with military or medical training are being asked to get to Houston. Michelle pauses to hear the entire message. A billboard directing her to Houston catches her eye. Determined to assist, she drives in that direction. She also sees an even bigger alien ship towering in the sky as lightning strikes. Even though the movie isn't a classic, the team's deft execution is indisputable. You're slowly drawn in by the script, which makes you wonder who you can really trust.